Aesthetics encompass the philosophy behind beauty, taste, and related subjects, delving into the nature of art, artistic creativity, and audience perception. Aesthetic properties are characteristics that impact the beauty of objects, including values that express positive or negative aspects, like beauty versus ugliness. Debates among philosophers revolve around whether aesthetic properties are objectively inherent or dependent on individual experiences. It is widely believed that aesthetic experiences involve disinterested pleasure, separated from practical matters. Taste signifies a personal sensitivity to aesthetic traits, leading to disagreements in aesthetic judgments due to varying preferences. Artworks, ranging from paintings to music, are human creations subject to interpretations exploring their meanings and the intentions of the creators. Aesthetic thought, rooted in ancient times, fully emerged as a distinct area of study in the 18th century, when philosophers systematically analyzed its foundational concepts. Aesthetics entails the systematic exploration of beauty, art, and taste, examining different aesthetic phenomena, the human experience of them, and how objects evoke such experiences. Areas of interest in aesthetics include defining art, determining the objectivity of aesthetic judgments, and understanding how aesthetic value connects to other values. Classifying aesthetics reveals three main approaches: the study of aesthetic concepts and judgments, the study of aesthetic experiences and mental responses, and the study of the nature and qualities of aesthetic objects. Some definitions of aesthetics also touch upon specific theories of beauty or appearances. Though closely linked to the philosophy of art, aesthetics extends beyond art to include beauty in nature and daily life, leading to debates about whether the philosophy of art falls under the umbrella of aesthetics. The term aesthetics was introduced by German philosopher Alexander Baumgarten in 1735, defining it initially as the study of sensibility towards beautiful objects. The domain of aesthetics covers a range of properties, objects, experiences, and judgments associated with beauty and artistic expression. Disputes arise concerning whether there are essential features shared by all aesthetic phenomena, or if they are more loosely connected through similarities. Key debates focus on the relationship between different aesthetic concepts and whether an aesthetic object is defined by the concept of aesthetic experience. Aesthetic properties shape an object's appeal and influence evaluations, with distinctions made between aesthetic and non-aesthetic properties. The existence of aesthetic properties is debated, with views ranging from them being objective features to emerging properties dependent on non-aesthetic traits. Aesthetic values play a crucial role, expressing an object's sensory appeal as a measure of its aesthetic excellence, with beauty standing as a primary aesthetic value. The aesthetic value of beauty is a central topic in aesthetics, with ongoing discussions about its definition, objectivity, and common features among beautiful objects. Aesthetic experiences involve an appreciation of beauty or other aesthetic features, often resulting in detached pleasure. The aesthetic attitude encapsulates a unique way of engaging with art and nature, marked by pure appreciation, devoid of personal desires or practical considerations. Aesthetic pleasure, associated with responses to natural and artistic beauty, contrasts with interested pleasure and is a pivotal aspect of various aesthetic phenomena. Aesthetic judgments, expressed as assessments of an object's aesthetic features, provoke debates on their subjectivity, universality, and the nature of taste. Taste, as a sensitivity to aesthetic qualities, influences aesthetic preferences and plays a role in aesthetic disagreements among individuals and cultures. Differences in taste, whether innate or learned, contribute to the diversity of aesthetic opinions and assessments across societies. Art encompasses a wide array of forms, such as painting, sculpture, music, dance, literature, and theater, reflecting both the artifacts themselves and the skills involved in their creation by humans. Some define art as a socially constructed concept, where ready-made objects can be considered art based on established conventions. Others argue for essentialist views, positing that artworks share inherent features unique to them. Various perspectives float around the philosophical debate on the nature of art, like representation, beauty, and aesthetic experience. Conventionalist definitions of art stress that it is a socially dependent category, shaped by cultural and societal norms rather than inherent qualities of objects. Modern art has particularly challenged traditional perceptions, leading to a reevaluation of what can be deemed art. Hybrid theories often blend elements from different viewpoints to offer a more nuanced understanding. Moreover, the ontology of art seeks to classify artworks into fundamental categories, with universalists viewing art as repeatable entities and particularists emphasizing the uniqueness of each artwork. Interpretation plays a crucial role in uncovering an artwork's meaning and value. Critics often propose conflicting interpretations, sparking debates on whether there can be a singular correct interpretation or if multiple valid readings exist. The meaning of an artwork can be tied to the artist's intent, cultural conventions, or audience interpretation. Additionally, discussions surrounding the value of art range from aestheticism, a focus on intrinsic artistic merits, to instrumentalism, which explores art's wider societal impacts like moral education or social cohesion. The individual arts span various disciplines, from traditional forms like painting, music, and literature, to more contemporary expressions like video games. Each art form presents unique challenges and discussions within the philosophy of art. Dance emphasizes bodily movement, painting involves applying colors to surfaces, and music combines sounds to create aesthetic patterns. Across all these forms, the meaningful exploration of representation, expression, and interpretation remains central to the philosophical discourse on art. Architecture, sculpture, literature, poetry, theater, film, and video games also contribute to the diverse landscape of art, each offering distinct perspectives and challenges within the artistic realm. Aesthetic phenomena are explored across various disciplines, encompassing the relationship between aesthetics and different branches of philosophy, employing empirical methods in scientific research, comparing distinctive artistic traditions, and delving into the study of aesthetic components in specific contexts. Ethics deals with moral concepts as a whole and correct behavior specifically. Artworks can have ethical implications by influencing emotions, perceptions, and evaluations. These creations can either endorse violent behaviors and reinforce biases or evoke empathy and question societal norms. Consequently, art intersects with politics as it can manipulate political views to either validate authority or incite opposition, thus shaping voter opinions. Philosophers seek to elucidate the connection between moral and aesthetic values through a range of theories. Ethicism argues that an artwork's moral worth can enhance its aesthetic value, whereas immoralism suggests that moral deficiencies may sometimes boost artistic experience. In contrast, autonomism refutes both stances, asserting the independence of these evaluative domains. Psychology and related fields employ empirical approaches grounded in psychology to investigate and validate hypotheses. The psychology of aesthetics scrutinizes the cognitive processes involved in perceiving and admiring beauty in art. Experimental aesthetics, pioneered by Gustav Fechner, utilizes a bottom-up approach starting with human sensation, exploring preferences towards simple stimuli like basic colors and shapes. Gestalt psychology takes a holistic view, examining how composition and object placement influence aesthetic encounters. Psychological studies also dissect the temporal framework of aesthetic experiences, identifying two distinct phases: the initial impression, where observers form a general idea of the artwork, followed by a detailed analysis of specific features. Research delves into how diverse contexts impact aesthetic encounters, such as the contrast between viewing a painting in a museum versus a shopping mall. Evolutionary psychology delves into the evolutionary basis of aesthetic preferences, like inclinations towards landscapes resembling the African savanna. Evolutionary aesthetics interprets beauty and other aesthetic experiences as adaptive traits that serve various functions. In contrast with philosophical art theories, viewing aesthetic values as cultural constructs, evolutionary psychology sees them as universal or transcultural patterns of taste and appreciation, born out of humanity's relatively immutable biological nature. Neuroaesthetics employs neuroscientific insights and methods to explore the relationship between brain activity and aesthetic encounters. Aesthetic experiences stem from diverse brain processes organizing sensory stimuli, forming cognitive interpretations, and eliciting emotional responses. Cognitive science adopts an interdisciplinary approach to scrutinize mental phenomena by studying how they acquire and transform information. Specific frameworks in cognitive science have been used to analyze aesthetic phenomena. Comparative aesthetics delves into different aesthetic traditions, examining the similarities and disparities in their beauty standards and theoretical approaches. For example, Western aesthetics focus on high art, distinct from everyday concerns, contrasts with many other traditions where art is closely intertwined with daily functions like religion and moral education. The examination of artworks from different traditions presents conceptual challenges linked to tradition-specific aesthetic concepts, risking cultural imperialism if standards from one tradition are uncritically applied to evaluate works from another. Indian aesthetics underscores the close link between artistic endeavors and religious devotion, advocating for artistic expression grounded in self and reality knowledge, devotion to the divine, and detachment from the outcomes of creative efforts. Artistic creativity, according to Indian aesthetics, entails harnessing the full potential of mediums like colors, sounds, and words to convey universal experiences. Chinese aesthetics highlights poetry, painting, and calligraphy, referred to as the three perfections, which are sometimes combined in a single artwork. Artistry in Chinese culture seeks to cultivate harmony within society and resonate with the natural order of the universe, with art serving as a means of self-expression and social well-being promotion. Islamic aesthetics views art as a medium for conveying philosophical and religious truths to the public, without relying on abstract theoretical frameworks. Recognizing imagination over reasoning in artistic creation, Islamic aesthetics aligns with religious teachings, emphasizing transcendent and abstract art forms that avoid figurative representations. African aesthetics underscores the intuitive and emotional elements of art, emphasizing its communal role in social settings. Indigenous scholarship in the 20th century challenged ethnocentric interpretations using Western aesthetic yardsticks to assess African art, highlighting a distinct set of aesthetic standards that focus on moral, emotional, and intuitive aspects. Environmental aesthetics delves into nature appreciation, encompassing transient and enduring aspects like the beauty of a landscape during sunset and the grandeur of ancient trees. This field centers on sensory and formal qualities associated with beauty, contrasting with the interpretation of underlying meanings integral to the philosophy of art. Religious art serves specific religious purposes, transmitting moral and theological insights and facilitating devotional practices. Examining any type of environment, environmental aesthetics extends into everyday aesthetics, exploring aesthetic encounters in daily life settings, encompassing both public and private spaces and personal adornments like clothing and industrial design. Popular art aesthetics explores aesthetic dimensions prevalent in popular culture, comparing evaluative criteria between popular art and high art or fine art. The examination of commercial mass art against experimental avant-garde art and specific categories like kitsch falls under the purview of popular art aesthetics. Religious art, manifesting in various forms such as paintings, sculptures, and music, plays a pivotal role in all major religions, conveying theological and moral messages, symbolizing truths, provoking religious experiences, and enhancing devotional practices. Shifts in the philosophy of art over time highlighted the autonomy of aesthetic encounters from external objectives, diverging from earlier periods where religious art dominated the artistic landscape. Various theories within aesthetics are associated with specific philosophical traditions, like Marxist aesthetics, probing the interplay between art, class structures, and social ideologies. Feminist aesthetics challenge biases in aesthetics and art practice, exploring ways to rectify unfair social norms and standards. Postmodern aesthetics, a diverse movement, challenges established notions in aesthetics, promoting a pluralistic outlook, embracing diversity and playfulness. Computer art involves generating images using algorithms like fractal geometry, with mathematical beauty referring to aesthetic aspects of abstract mathematical concepts. Computer art, employing digital tools to create artworks, offers diverse forms such as virtual reality and interactive experiences, shaping new artistic possibilities in the contemporary era.